5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome. Welcome? Yeah. Welcome to Deep Space and Dragons. Possibly the coolest podcast until someone corrects us on that. I'm Richard, objectively a cool person, honest.
And I am Carl, and I mean, like that was a risky open. Like, I feel like someone is definitely going to try and usurp our throne as the coolest podcast.
Well, that's what we need, right? Because comedy is all about punching down, and we're at the bottom, so we can throw punches at anyone we like.
We sure can.
I know I said the phrase wrong. Comedy's all about punching down. You find someone down their luck, and then you kick them, right? That's funny. Spoken like Dio. Hashtag Nine-Arts Dragon did nothing wrong.
But before we begin our topic of the day, what's new in the Richard verse?
Oh, let's see. So, mostly because it's summer and I've been getting a lot of work done on my next novel, which has been quite lovely. Wow, I haven't been particularly exciting. So worked at a biking event, but I wasn't able to build up the funds to get a combat tricycle in time on account of an adult tricycle not being a normally thing you can rent. I didn't really want to buy one without testing it. So if anyone in our listeners would like to send me an adult tricycle to compensate for my learning disability, that'd be awesome. But since the odds of that happening are actually we manifest a lot of things, I would not be surprised if, Frankfurt, Germany, it turns out one of our listeners runs, the finest German bike shops, and they send me a combat tricycle from Germany. That would be amazing.
A combat tricycle.
Well, just like a nice herdy, like the tricycle with the basket in the back to put your groceries in is actually an amazing innovation. And what started as, a joke suggestion is more and more becoming a thing I actually want. But between that and coming up with a Cobalts and Credits one-page RPG, and working on my writing, I've pretty much just been able to live that sweet, sweet introvert life. I was exciting for a couple weeks, and I'm so happy to not be anymore.
That's fair. It's nice to have some time to rest and relax. All things in moderation. It's good to have friends and spend time with them, but it's also good to have time for yourself.
Yeah, I also foolishly created work for myself. So work has been really busy. Well, I'm like, get people involved. A gift card getaway. Proceeds to spend 8 hours today writing up congratulations, you've been entered in the gift card draw. Thank you for participating. And then writing down names and numbers for the giveaway. I'm like, I made this work happen. But on record, in case some of my bosses or cohort or fellow students or the mayor of Toronto are listening in, yes, one of my goals in life is to siphon funds from the university and give it back out to students in any way I can. I don't apologize for that. But if it's hey, ask us a question about student services and we'll connect you with the services you need and you get entered to win a gift card, that's good work. I like my life even if I had to. A lot of people entered, Carl. Normally one or two people. So for context, one, maybe two people will post on these discussion boards a semester. Once we announced, we didn't even say the amount on the gift cards. What kind of gift cards? We gave no information other than you get entered in a draw to possibly win a vaguely established gift card. Only one person actually asked the question of how much is the gift card and what's it for. We're up to 300 responses.
Oh, wow.
So that upped our engagement, not exaggerating, by about 1,000%.
Oof.
Which is amazing, because this is what I wanted to have happen, because it proves my plan was objectively brilliant. But I also objectively made more work for myself. And, I don't want to delegate it out, because I feel since I made the entire department more work, I should take on a decent share of it, because I did this. Also, Ride of the Valkyries is playing during this speech. So I need all of our listeners at home to picture me typing at a keyboard saying, "Thank you for entering." Well, Ride of the Valkyries plays behind me. Picture the full choir as I'm just typing emails, hunched over, with a cat flopped on his side on the bed next to me, stacked up empty ice cap coffees on my desk. That's my life. It's pretty great. What's new with you?
Well, I mean, I've also been somewhat unexciting, as we discovered during the pre-podcast. But I do have just a little interesting anecdote here.
For the record, Ride of the Valkyries is still playing during this speech, so it better be epic.
So in 2018, I bought a brand new Jeep Wrangler off the lot. Well,
Can
I financed
confirm.
it. I didn't purchase it, but I financed it.
I,
Uh,
I, I
yeah.
recall this because I recall my beautiful quip of, can't someone just take the door off your vehicle and go home with it? And you're in Saskatchewan? Are you insane? Why would you give them that option?
Well, I mean, I currently have no roof or doors on my Jeep right now. I kind of want to get like the little half doors, so at least have something. But that's not really the point of the anecdote. The point is that before I went to the dealership to buy my vehicle, I searched um, online. I did a Google search for Jeeps to see kind of what the price was, what kind of features it would have, and what exactly I would be getting. So do a little Google search. And then I went out and bought my Jeep, and for months, uh, the Google advertisements were still trying to sell me a Jeep when I had already purchased one.
Yeah. You have any idea how much Amazon would make on a Jeep?
That's probably true, but it kind of I know that search engines are it's their business model to try and clickbait people with ads that they're actually going to be interested in, or ads that they think that you might be interested in. The targeted ads are just how search engines make their money.
Oh, yeah. Like, for reference, I have had to choose which targets that my ads for my book then target towards. Like, even on the free
um,
one, I have to, like, research how one makes a targeted ad. Fun story. As a writer, I have the most interested targeted ad show up now because I searched odd things.
well, so I Google in particular is such a large corporation, and they have their fingers in so many different pots that like I'm not exactly concerned, but the idea that they're running targeted ads that they think I'm going to click on, and that they might try and use that to their advantage to sell their own product.
I mean,
Um,
it makes sense.
it makes
Literally.
sense, but so I oddly enough saw an advertisement for a different web browser called DuckDuckGo, which its whole shtick is that they don't need all the creepy tracker stuff that a lot of websites use to gather information to create more targeted ads, but they're still able to be financially successful through advertising revenue. And it's like, okay, if that's how they're marketing themselves, and I'm
Oh,
unhappy with the fact that Google is just like, oh yeah, we know you like Jeeps, so we're gonna try and sell you Jeeps, and you already bought one. So I've been trying DuckDuckGo ever since.
okay. So, to give a
Uh,
fun reverse speech about that.
mhm.
So, as a person who is an author, and as history will let you know, I'm sure the vast majority of authors are super wealthy and successful and don't need to play dirty. I'm sure that's the case.
Mhm.
However, I deliberately when I Google things, I also look up myself simultaneously so the algorithm associates D&D with the Waltz of Blades, therefore increasing its recommendation list. I'm such a bad spy that I've basically turned into a double agent against Amazon and Google, where it's like, Richard likes this, and he really likes this book. We should, like, it target ads my own book back to me, which is kind of the goal, because then it'll target ad my book at people associated with me.
Right, right.
Like, I go top picks for Amazon right now, and it's three D&D books, dice, some battle maps, my own novel, a couple novels of people I know, and insultingly sparkling ice blackberry sparkling water, zero sugar flavored water with vitamins and oxide. That's not supposed to be there. But it should, in the same breath, tell me, hey, do you like Vol's Guide to the Monsters? You probably would like the Minuet of Sorcery. I'm like, yeah, I'm winning. I'm fighting my guerrilla warfare against the giant. So I get why you're doing the exact opposite. But really, as a friend, you should just be Googling the Waltz of Blades every day on every device.
Okay, so but even that's not the end of the anecdote, because the other day I was at work, and there was a football game on. Um,
For
or
clarification,
hockey.
pause. This is super important. Most of our fans, like a very decent
Oof.
percentage, are from
Mm,
Europe. By
yes.
football, we mean the bastardized American sport, not the actual football. I'm taking my stance. I just took it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree. I don't really know why we call football in North America like what is
Because an
you're
American
not
guy
going to
threw
really
tea off a
stand your
boat.
feet for it. Like,
Because an American guy threw tea off a boat. That's why. It is spite. It is literally Bender wanting flapjacks and other things, so he left to make his own.
but so sorry. Um, my boss he asks me to look up when the football game starts, and it's like I have the teams. I'm like, okay, this team versus this team, and DuckDuckGo just I'm sure the information was there because it like brought me to the NFL webpage so you can go through the itinerary for the whole season and figure out when each game is and where it is and whatnot. And it's like, but uh, it was eye opening to me that if you I even actually I went to Google.com on DuckDuckGo to be able to get the information that I wanted rather than using DuckDuckGo's built-in search engine because Google will just give you the current score and give you the time that the game is and give you where it is right there on top. It's like
Yeah.
that's the first result, and it's not even actually a result. It's just that Google found the information you were actually looking for, so you didn't actually have to search for it.
Oh, you think it's bad now? Bing's starting to put ChatGPT powered learning algorithms into your thing. So it won't even, Carl, it won't even be like, I heard you like Jeeps. Would you like a Jeep? It'll be like, Carl, sir, now that you are using this platform, I've noticed that you seem uncomfortable. Back pain recently. Coincidentally, we have a new microfiber leather insole for your Jeep's seat, specifically for your model. We've added it to the cart. All you need to do is consent.
Well, I mean, I don't use Bing. Like I said, I use DuckDuckGo. But I'm sure DuckDuckGo will eventually get on the AI train because, that just seems to be
I
the
mean,
thing to
I
do.
hate for shots fired and to declare war at you here, but how are you this old and still a hipster? Google's too mainstream. I'm gonna use DuckDuckGo. Tips glasses, adjusts beret, unicycles away in black and white
Oh,
somehow.
I'm disappointed that I didn't even realize because I obviously I don't care about sports enough. And I didn't even realize that this was a feature that I was missing that I wanted for the off chance that I might need to look up the sporting information. And I am a little bit salty that I had to go to Google's website to find the information I wanted because DuckDuckGo let me down with this feature.
This is gonna hurt you a bit. This is gonna hurt even worse than everything I've said up to this point. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to do it. You just went back to your ex search engine.
Only when it pertains to sports.
You literally called up your ex because you don't know enough about football. Oof. That is not a success story in any way.
Yeah, I mean, I took a big risk there, but I was rolling the dice, and I got the information I needed and got out.
Yeah, it was definitely some risky business, but you only had so many cards to play, and you had a matching set, and you just had to get on that horse and cannon on through.
So if you couldn't figure this out, audience members, our actual topic of the day is not me being a hipster. It is Risk, the board game.
However, I do want to pause on that hipster note, because the entire concept of our show might be you being a hipster, and me being a different kind of hipster, and there being no actual conflict, but somehow being generated from being on, you're a hipster in Saskatchewan, and I'm a hipster in Ontario, and they're drastically different creatures.
That is true.
Because I'm like, yeah, I'm drinking my guava, and you're like, guava? Pff, that's so pedestrian. I'm drinking my mango. I'm like, mango? What, did you just get mangoes in Saskatchewan? You're like, yeah, we did.
Are you drinking that weird canola oil Starbucks drink?
No, because the joke is we're the same person. So neither of us would drink that for any reason. Although I did feel the need to look up Amazon bestsellers and soft drinks because targeted ads. And apparently the best selling is a calorie zero rainbow variety pack of Zevo soda. And I'm like, what went wrong, guys?
Zevia made with Sativa.
That, like,
Sativa?
it
No, that doesn't
sounds
sound right.
flammable. It sounds biodegradable. Like it'll degrade your biology. Like, you have to go down to, like, result 10 to get a regular soda. I'm kind of surprised, honestly. Because there's, like, poppy, sparkling, prebiotic gut health soda. I'm like, listen, if I want to be healthy, I'll drink water.
Mm.
That's what water is for. You're never going to convince me your drink is somehow healthier and better at hydrating me than water. I remember getting very disgruntled when I worked at Redacted Smoothie Place when someone tried to explain to me that coconut water hydrated you better than regular water. I'm like, that is impossible because your body is now processing something that isn't water.
Uh, yeah, that is strange.
So, I don't know. A lot of health drinks, I'm like, no, I'm either drinking something aggressively bad for me to either wake me up, put me back to sleep, or give me joy. And if it doesn't give me those three things, I shouldn't be drinking it. I probably will because someone handed me a drink and I'm just accepting my fate.
Right,
I'm not
right.
going to stop drinking the bubbly. It's strawberry scented.
It's not even strawberry flavored.
Have you had bubbly
Scented.
recently? Bubbly's scented. It's not flavored.
I agree.
And, like, the amount of free bubbly would have to sponsor us with for me to revoke that on air, because there is a price. I'm a freelance artist. Like, if I'm
No,
not a if
I
I'm not a
agree,
Bud
but I don't think it's that much. Like I think if they just shipped like 2 dozen cans to your door, I think you would change your tune.
First off, yes, obviously. Like, I have ethics, and they're really strong. So, like, if, like, bubbly was involved in some kind of, like, horrifying scandal, I may have to be like, I don't know if I want to associate my brand with bubbly. But also, I'm a college student, so if you're giving me free food or drink, like, I'm not insane.
Not an insane college student, just a regular
So I
college
think I've
student.
determined that each can of bubbly would buy them 30 seconds of on-air promotion.
Each can of bubbly is worth 30 seconds.
Yeah, 30 seconds of my time at the moment. So they gave me a 24 pack. That would give them like 12 minutes
Oh,
about me talking about bubbly. However, it's me talking about it in any way I see fit. For the record,
alright, then,
Hallelujah is
you're
playing in
listening.
the copyright-free music right now. We have Handel's Messiah playing. When I was like, I would talk about bubbly however I saw fit.
Mm.
A song I most recall from playing Catherine. For those
Uh,
unaware, Catherine is a block-pushing dating sim sheep game that didn't age well, or maybe did. So,
mm.
to pivot off of our original board game directive, because I'm curious about your thoughts on this topic in general right now, and it might ruin this entire episode, but I'm gonna take the risk. So, in your brain, do you think a show designed for adults can be offensive? Or is it actually supposed to be thought-provoking? Where's the line between thought-provoking and actively offensive? So take Catherine, for example. The video game
Mm.
Catherine has an openly trans character in it.
Right.
That's just a plot point. And then there's the bad censored ending where, like, they undercut the build-up. And then there's, like, characters being like, oh, be careful around her. It's not what you think. It's like, it's transphobic. But it was also artwork reflecting life where people are in fact transphobic, and it didn't portray it as being, they didn't glorify it in any way. So I'm just kind
Mm.
of curious your thoughts on if something says 418 plus on it and it shows our world in a shitty way, is that problematic?
Um, well, I mean, I really don't think so. Like, firstly, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and then secondly, it's like use your discretion. Like, if you don't like a particular topic, don't don't engage with it. And if there's not enough engagement, then as a society, that topic will eventually fall out of public perception.
Exactly. Because, yeah, it's just very interesting where I run that college level D&D club, and I'm, like, always skirting around, like, free will and expression versus not being a dick, because not being a dick isn't a very universal measurement. So sometimes I have to give, like, specific measurements of how much of being a dick you're being,
Mm.
which is an interesting thing to have as a crossroad of storytelling. It's kind of like, I personally watch Netflix's Castlevania, which has
Hmm.
graphic sex, violence, swears, blood, an awesome ice lance, a giant ball of screaming corpses. So when I write my own work, I don't write it as extreme as a show I myself enjoyed, but that's my own personal preference.
Well, I mean, I think it also comes down to the intent of the author. Uh, I mean, sometimes people are unintentionally racist or bigoted or any number of unfortunate or undesirable traits might come across in their art.
I do have
Uh,
to put out completely unrelated. I was recently watching the Clone High reboot, and the character's like,
mm,
"Don't call it that. Call it white leveraging, not blackmail. Come on, be better."
but I also think it depends on the intent of the author or the creator of the content, because sometimes people do just say or do things to be controversial or to be offensive because they just need some sort of self satisfaction from putting other people down in their lives,
Or just
um,
attention.
or just attention. So it's like if your intent is just to grab attention, I feel like that's a bit too shallow. But if your intent is to draw attention to a specific topic, uh, and it ends up displaying things in an unfavorable light that some people are like uncomfortable with, it's it's really up to that person to decide how comfortable they are with the content they're viewing and decide when they want to not support that content.
Fair. But we did have a topic we were originally going to cover, and not a ton of time left this week. So I'm going to pull off this band aid in the cleanest possible way, keeping in mind we have
Hmm.
exactly 37 minutes our episode can go, which gives us
Oh,
approximately 17 minutes left.
aha, okay.
All right, so Carl, why do you hate Risk? And as a extension of that, and why do you hate America?
uh, well, so I Risk does have some good qualities about it, and the best quality about it is the ease with which it can be set up. Uh, but the simplicity of it, I mean, there is strategy for sure, but it's the main engagement between players within the game itself uh, is dice rolls,
Yeah.
um, and the downtime between turns. Like if you have two big armies fighting each other, the downtime between turns just gets out of hand because you just keep rolling and keep rolling and keep rolling and keep rolling. And if someone has an army half the size of your army that you're attacking, uh, it takes a long time, and there's just a good chance that the dice will hate you, and then you'll end up losing, and it'll take twice as long because the army that was half the size beat your bigger army out of sheer luck rather than actual any strategy or planning. Uh, and it's just, and then the last and most annoying portion is that most of the people that I have played with do not end the game when a single player gets knocked out.
Okay, so that's a pretty key thing. So, to quickly explain the rules of Risk, because I have this down to a minute. Primary objective of Risk is to strategically conquer territories and eliminate opponent armies. You set up the map in several different ways, but the go-to way most people do is you go around the table, each person picks a place, they go around the table, put 2 units on each of those places until you place 30 units, game starts. Start of your turn,
Hmm.
little chart thing, get that many extra troops. Attack. Attacking player rolls 3 dice. Defending player rolls 2 dice based on the number of armies and troops. Da da da, dice rolled, things die. If you've attacked at least one person, you draw a card, try cards, more troops, win game. That's basic Risk.
Hmm.
Basic
Right.
Risk is probably more about politics and the people you're playing with than the actual mechanics of the game. Because, quite
Hmm.
frankly, as you mentioned before, with those dice rolls where the defender's technically more mathematically likely to win, but the attacker gets more dice, like, I'm not sure the actual Risk mathematics numbers, but they're
Right, because
skewed.
the defender wins in a tie,
Hmm.
but then the attacker has an extra die in
So,
general.
I can't be bothered to calculate the math of any given Risk attack.
Mm.
But the thing that's actually easier to control at the Risk board isn't me, isn't Carl. It's the Aaron at the table. And if Aaron, if you're listening to this message, I mean it as a term of endearment for whoever the third person at the table happens to be, statistically it'd probably be you at a game of Risk. So,
Mm.
when I'm battling Carl, clearly the strategy is to psychologically manipulate Aaron, because that actually has better odds of success than the dice.
Right.
So Risk becomes a game of table talk more than actual gameplay, of
Mm.
aggression, of anger, of sipping possibly a bubbly or advertisement here as you play the game. And so I've owned a lot of different versions of Risk. Base
Mm.
Risk really is about small talk, because as you mentioned, those turns last forever. If you play with people who are
Yeah,
like, don't talk, I'm focusing as two players roll dice, there's no point. However,
I agree.
if Panda and Tim are rolling dice making direct eye contact, me and you are chatting about Kirby. Probably playing the
Right,
Kirby
right,
HD Dubstep Remix 36 Hours edition on YouTube, like we do when playing board games.
right,
So as we're doing, it's a game that requires low enough attention you can maintain entire conversations.
right.
However, OG Risk is by far the worst version of Risk. The
Mm.
reason I have fond memory for Risk is I'm used to the Risk 22 something or other AD edition, where you get energy
Ah.
tokens. You can use those to buy generals. Generals can buy different cards. Generals have higher dice. You can conquer the moon in Atlantis. You can nuke the moon. And the fact the game had a card where you'd spend 10 energy to blow up all troops on the moon by having them drop on a city to then destroy everyone in that city is amazing flavor. And the narrative storyteller in me loved
Mm.
telling how the battles went. It wasn't Australia attacks Egypt, it was Australia swims down to Atlantis to bomb it. And suddenly,
Mm.
that's an amazing mental picture. Future versions of
Yeah.
Risk, like they had their like quote unquote Risk Modern, where they added capitals as a mechanic, where it was less about overcomplicating it and more if you take out 5 capitals, you win. And they like did things to try and speed up the flow of Risk to be less gridlocky, as it were.
Mm.
Because if you play with first time someone gets knocked out, you count territories up to win, which in retrospect has become a really good multiplayer mechanic for a lot of games. Because then it's
Right.
like you deliberately keep that player alive until you know you'll win. But
Mm-hmm.
it also had each player got dealt 3 win condition cards, and it was the first to like reveal the 3 win conditions one in one of the more modern versions of Risk,
Ah.
which was really cool. And then another good one is the Risk Legacy board, where you're supposed to have a dedicated play group, and you got to each at the end of each game, you got to have people like write their names on spots on the board, and then unlock new mechanics each week.
I mean, maybe I should give Risk another go because I'm pretty sure I've almost always just played the OG Risk, and it's just old. It hasn't it doesn't play well like in like more modern games that like.
It's fair, like I said. Part of it is we pretty early in got our Space Risk board, which immediately replaced the regular one. And made it
Right.
a drastically different game because you had choices, right? The land
Mm-hmm.
commander means you're more likely to take land. The space commander means you could go to the moon. The nuclear commander did exactly what's labeled on the tin. And if you kill someone's commander, you could stop them from using the cards that went with the commander till they bought their commander back. So if
Right.
Jeremy had a large nuclear arsenal like Gandhi in Civilization, we would have to take down Jeremy's nuclear facilities. But because it used Risk's admittedly terrible but hyper simplistic gameplay engine, it was much
Mm.
easier than teaching people how to play, say, the Civilization board game. Or even Catan. Catan is harder than Risk, even with adding more bells and whistles to Risk.
Mm.
So, that's kind of my pitch for Risk. But it's kind of like having a good D&D group as well, where you need the right balance of players for it. You need people that will play a 5-hour board game with you, and you'll enjoy it because that means you did something for 5 hours with those people. It's
Yeah, I
kind of
mean
like
that's definitely the key to well, I mean, really any board game. I mean, I do think that a lot of board games are inherently more fun, particularly than OG Risk. Uh, but any board game can be a lot of fun with with the right group. But any board game can also be like no fun with the wrong group.
yes. My favorite example of that was the Unstable Unicorns incident.
Mm.
where we had a game
Where
called
you were bending the rules in favor of your girlfriend, and then it created an infinite loop, and one of my friends decided to exploit that
I don't remember
instead
that
of trying
first
to
part
win.
of me bending the rules. I don't remember that part. But I do remember the player mentality aspect, where
Mm.
there's players who want to win, and then one player whose entire goal was to make the game last as long as possible for some reason. Possibly so everyone would die of exhaustion or boredom. So there's an exploit in
Right.
the rules. And as you mentioned, maybe I read the rules wrong. Maybe I favored my girlfriend at the time. Sounds like a thing I would do. But one player simply, their goal was not victory. And if someone
It
does that,
was not.
like you always get that player in Risk weirdly, where they'll take Australia first. And then their
Mm.
goal is to sit there and being as annoying to hit as possible, but at no point actually make like territory advancement. Because that's their
Mm.
goal, is to be a troll. So, play group is so important for these things to make sure you can get away with the troller too, but if your troll ratio outdoes your people who are taking it serious ratio,
Mm.
it starts to sour a bit.
I mean, that's true.
Also, and this is worth pointing out, instead of playing Risk, you could play, as you casually mentioned, literally anything else.
Well, except Monopoly. My girlfriend does love Monopoly, so I will play it on occasion. But that is another board game that I just feel has not aged well.
So, Monopoly, it's kind of funny when the biggest innovation in Monopoly is they added a debit card to it so you didn't have to physically count money. I only like Monopoly when you allow deals to be absurd. Like, I like Monopoly where, like, oh, I can sell someone my belt for a territory. And also, Monopoly is one of those games where you have to know the actual rules of it. Like, free
Mm.
parking giving people money artificially inflates the Monopoly economy, which makes it players not get knocked out and adds an hour to the game.
Right.
Because free parking doesn't do that. My pro tip
It's
for
just free
Risk and
parking.
Monopoly is have someone actually read the rule book, because everyone thinks they know the rules, and then everyone has absurd house rules. It's kind of like just trying to run random people D&D. It just doesn't actually work.
I will say, like I know there are cards for Risk, and that you draw a card when you take a territory. But at the same time, I mean, maybe my disdain for Risk goes even further back than I realize. But it always seemed like no one in my play groups actually knew what to do with the cards.
Yeah, that would make your game artificially inflate like crazy, because the cards give you X number of troops, and it's literally labeled the number they give you around the board. And
Mm.
each trade-in gives you more than the last one. So if you trade in, that means that if someone else has a set, they can counter trade in to fight back, which means you can artificially inflate the odds of a turn with the knowledge that someone else can artificially inflate back.
Right.
Which is like one of the few things you actually get information and control over in the game.
That's fair. I am rather interested in this space version of Risk, actually, since it seems to include more mechanics that make it. Well, alternate win conditions are always welcome. Well, in my opinion,
Risk
of a game
2042, it's 2010 AD is called.
2010.
Yeah.
I know Risk was old, but
Two twos,
2010.
2210. 2210.
Okay.
And it includes such hilarious territory names as there's like literally the Amazon desert, which is painfully telling.
Oh, that is
Shots
painfully telling.
fired. But yes, as far as Risk games are concerned, it's my personal favorite.
Mm.
Like, it even has like a year countdown, and then there's like biohazard symbols, and you start losing territories due to you destroying the planet. Like when you nuke a city, just no one can take it. It's dead because you nuked it.
Oh, harsh.
But we need to wrap things up, and we wrap up with our random question of the day.
Ooh.
So this one comes in. I think we've asked versions of this, but not quite like this. Are you more an introvert or an extrovert?
I would say I'm more an introvert. I'm definitely. I really like to listen to people. I don't necessarily like to talk that much. Like I say, my whole life motto is to know just enough about everything to start a conversation, and then the other person will talk, and I'll learn things.
Yeah, I need you to know Bach is playing right now, Tokita in D minor, just for how dramatic your introvert speech was. Just felt like you needed that knowledge. So
Yeah, okay.
we're running out the clock, so I can't give my full speech. But I want to identify as an introvert. But unfortunately, I'm an extrovert. It happened. When I think about it, I'm the person who puts forth the plans and tells people to meet up and talks and
Mm.
talks and talks and be like, hey, Carl, let's do a podcast and put it on the internet. And I try to be like, oh, no, no, I'm not actually an extrovert. Like, no, I need to come out of that closet. I'm clearly an extrovert. I put my face on my
Quite
book.
clearly.
And with that, thank you everybody for tuning in. And I'm not saying no to sponsorships. Buy the Waltz of Blades and the Minuet of Sorcery on Amazon so I can afford to get flavored drinks that aren't water. Karl is amazing. That's just my entire shout out for Karl.
Well, and make sure that you Google yourself and the Minuet of Sorcery, so it associates you and all of your personal information with the Minuet of Sorcery to increase the user base of people that it thinks might like Minuet of Sorcery.
Excellent. 10 out of 10. Good use of our last 3 seconds. Bye.
Bye.